What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I've got an interesting video for you guys today. It's less about the story that we're actually bringing and more about the manipulations of the corporate press, right? Because this is what they do, and this is what I do. I point out manipulations in these news articles and how you're being manipulated about the cable news and all these places. So if you're interested in that, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel, because that's what I do. I point out in each and every single way you're being manipulated by corporate press news, because they do manipulate everything. This article right here just proves this outright, right? We read news, we go through clips from TV, we do all this stuff. So subscribe if you're new around here, if you're interested in these things. Smash that like button for me. I would greatly appreciate that. And I am happy to say that I'm getting this out of the way right at the beginning of the video, because I normally don't do this till the end of the video, and it's better to do it at the beginning of the video for some reason, or at least that's what they say. But with no further ado, let's get into this thing, because you're being manipulated, folks. So take what you hear with a grain of salt when it comes from the corporate news, right? MSNBC, CNN, The Hill, the Associated Press, corporate press, and mainstream news. Let's get into this. This is coming from NBC, by the way. And look, this is, I don't know why they did this. This is such a goofy looking picture of Joe Biden. But that's the picture they went with, right? They could portray him in a better light, but why they went with this goofy picture right here, I have no idea. But this is part of the manipulations right there. They'll put a picture showing somebody mad or somebody goofy looking, right? Like, it's just weird, but it's part of the manipulation. It's part of the package that they bring to you. It's just insane, y'all. But it's little bitty things like that that a lot of people just wouldn't notice. They'd read the headline, look at the picture. Oh, it's a goofy picture of Joe Biden. Let's keep going. Let's read it out. Blah, 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 blah. Biden says Trump's tariffs threat against Canada and Mexico is counterproductive. Now, that right in and of itself is counterproductive. But we'll get into that. Now, check this out. President Joe Biden on Thursday criticized President-elect Donald Trump's announcement that he will implement 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, saying that the comments were counterproductive. Now, they don't explain any of this. They don't explain the tariffs, the 25% tariffs, and the reason. Or, of course, they don't do it right off, but let's see if they do it later. I hope he rethinks it, and I think it's a counterproductive thing to do, Biden said, responding to a reporter's question about his reaction to Trump's announcement. The last thing we need to do is begin to screw up those relationships, he added. Biden's comments came during his Thanksgiving Day visit to a fire station in Nantucket, Massachusetts. Trump said in a post to Truth Social on Monday that one of his first executive orders would be to hit Mexico and Canada with a blanket 25% tariff. Mexico and Canada are the second and third top suppliers of goods in the U.S., according to the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative. The U.S. imports the most goods from China. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop this invasion of our country, Trump said in the Post. Now, so Trump, let's break this down right quick. So it's counterproductive for these tariffs that Trump wants to implement on Mexico and Canada, right? Oh, it's counterproductive. How is it counterproductive there, Joe Biden? Because what Donald Trump is saying, now that they have actually told us what he's saying, okay, so there's a lot of drugs coming across our southern border. He wants to stop that, right? So what does he do? Right, you can't stop the cartels, obviously, or they would have done that in the first Trump administration. So what does he do? We need help from the Mexican government. They obviously don't want to help stop this because they haven't. So what do? We threaten them with tariffs. Say, hey, pick up the slack here. Our people are dying by the hundreds of thousands a year from drugs coming from your country. We need help for you to, right? It's like they're taking advantage of us. essentially, is what Donald Trump is saying. They're taking advantage. We need help. You're not doing anything to stop this massive drug trade that's going on across our southern border. We need help. If you don't help us, we're going to put tariffs on all the goods and damage your economy. That's what we're going to do, right? Not actually wanting to implement the tariffs. What he's wanting to do is get them to help us stop the drug trade that's coming across that southern border. Slow it down, do something, make it look like you're helping. And according to Joe Biden, that's counterproductive. Why? Why is that counterproductive? To want them to help stop the drug trade, right? A lot of these constituent parts come from China into Mexico, and then they make the fentanyl and then ship that into the country. Right? Stop it. Just stop it. So how about Mexico? Right? You get this 25% tariff. Tariff China on those constituent goods that make up fentanyl. Do something. Put a team together, some people to go in and investigate this and try to slow this down. Somebody to go in, a task force, a drug enforcement task force, something, right? And we won't impose these tariffs. Like, that's all he's asking. But according to Joe Biden, that's counterproductive. I don't see why. I don't see how. But, leave it to the corporate press. The president-elect's transition team did not immediately respond to requests for comment, blah, blah, blah. While on the campaign trail, Trump frequently promised to implement more tariffs, especially on China. Some economists, however, have criticized the possibility of steep tariffs, arguing that the cost would ultimately be passed on to consumers. Yeah, but what they're not telling you there is that the cost is only passed on to consumers if they buy those products. If you don't buy Chinese products, then that cost isn't passed on to consumers, is it? But they never say that. They never ever say that, right? This is Trump trying to make America great again, right? Trying to get people to invest in our own country instead of sending money to China, right? Buy American products. We need to bring manufacturing back so we don't have to rely on imports from foreign countries to survive for all our daily needs, right? We're heavily reliant on China, on all these other places for imported goods. That's garbage to me. This country being the top economy in the world, we should not be reliant on the world to run our daily lives, for crying out loud. And this is the point Trump is trying to make with these tariffs. It's a bargaining chip, right? You negotiate with these people with these tariffs to get something in return, right? Sure, prices might go up on something, on whatever, right? But it's a bargaining chip. You're going to get something in return always with these tariffs. But they don't ever tell you this. The economists, they'll just cherry pick words from the economists. They'll put out this big long statement about everything this tariff is going to do, and then the corporate press, they'll cherry pick this and just take whatever they want to make Donald Trump look bad. And this is why I can't stand these people. This is what they do, and it's relentless, y'all. These people are relentless with this crap. Trump said in a Wednesday post to Truth Social that he had a wonderful conversation with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum. Wait, hang on just a second. Interjection right quick. Claudia Sheinbaum, huh? What do we have, a Jewish, Irish, Mexican president here? That's funny. Saying she has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our southern border. That's what Trump says. But Sheinbaum's account of the conversation, she said that she noted that Mexico's position is not to close the borders. Okay, so this is where we're getting into, you get different news from different outlets. Okay, so just keep that in mind as we continue. In our conversation with President Trump, I explained to him that the comprehensive strategy that Mexico has followed to address the migration phenomenon, respecting human rights, she said in Spanish on X. No, why would they do that? Why would they add in there that this lady is speaking in her native language? Why? What is the point? Of course she's speaking in her native language. We reiterate that Mexico's position is not to close the borders, but instead build bridges between government and people. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said in a post to X on Wednesday that he had spoken with his country's premiers about trade with the U.S. Our focus, Canadian jobs, securing the border, and building on our strong partnerships with the United States, he said. Now, that last little 2 paragraphs right there at the bottom, what did that have to do with any of this? Nothing. But they throw that in there. For what reason? I have no idea. But this is from NBC. This is basically what they said is Donald Trump come out and said thing in a post. And then the person, said thing about Mexico in a post. Mexico said the total opposite, right? That's what you got from that, because she said, oh, we're not going to close the borders, blah, 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 blah. We're focused on human rights. Now, that's how NBC reported that. But you go to a different source, a more centrist source, CTV, as a matter of fact, says, this is how they reported it. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum said on Thursday she did not specifically discuss tariffs in a call she held with Trump on Wednesday, adding the two had agreed there would be good relations between the two nations. Following the call, Trump said Sheinbaum had agreed to stop migration through Mexico and into the United States, effectively closing our southern border. Sheinbaum, however, said she had laid out a strategy that attended to migrants before they reached the U.S. border. That's very different. That's a very different statement than her saying that she's going to close the border. Now, the greater statement in this is that basically what I got from this and what Trump was saying when he says effectively closing the border, and the argument from that is, oh, well, she said she's not closing the border. Well, Trump didn't say that either, right? He said effectively closing the border. That means something totally different. But they don't ever put the context into this. She is basically saying that she's going to try to stop these people, these migrant, these caravans that come through, and try to get them to reside in Mexico. That's what I got from all this conversation. I had to go and read both posts. That's what I derived from this, is that what she's going to try to do. And so both of them are right. But neither one of them said that, did they? No, she's going to try to get these people to live in Mexico, effectively closing the border, stopping the migration problem. She's going to stop these people in Mexico, get them to live there, focus on the rights, blah, 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 blah. So what Trump said was right, and what she said was right. She's not closing the border, because if they want to continue on, that's what's going to happen. However, once Donald Trump gets into office, they're going to have big problems, because they're going to have to stay just on the north side of that border, on the south side of their northern border, in the north of their territory, in other words. I know that came out all wrong. Sorry about that. Because he's not going to just let these people come into the country, right? They're going to be turned around. They're going to be shipped back to wherever they came from, right? That's just how it is. That's how it should be. That is exactly how it should be. Now, do I agree? We want migration, right? We love migrants. We want the best and brightest to come to this country. Even your average people, if they can come into this country, melt into the pot, and make America a great place to live, we're all for that. You got to come in the legal way, though. You can't cross our border illegally, because we don't want people, if they are willing to break our laws to enter this country. What makes me think, what gives me confidence that they're going to be productive members of society? Nothing. I have no confidence that they're going to do that, because they decided that their first act in this country was to break the law to get here. Yeah, I don't like that. Nobody seems to like that. The vast majority of Americans agree with that, right? Everybody might not agree with mass deportations, but most people would agree that we don't want people breaking the laws to come into this country, right? You can't be a productive member of society and a criminal at the same time, right? Now, I understand criminals can go on to reform themselves and become productive members of society. I get that. I totally get that. But what I'm saying is you're not giving us much confidence if you try to enter into our country illegally that you're going to be a productive member of society. Right? And we don't want that. Right? Now, what Trump needs to do is expand our legal migration process. Right? Like, seriously. Because it does take years. And the backlog is insane. It's filled with millions of people trying to come into this country legally. Right? We need to rush that process. But it still has to be a process. And it still needs to be limited. Because if you start just allowing millions and millions of people, like Joe Biden has done, you're going to create problems. You're going to create a lot of problems. You're going to overwhelm resources. That's why when just 50 migrants were shipped to Martha's Vineyard, what did they do? They smiled and hugged and everything for the cameras, but as soon as the cameras were turned off, they called the National Guard to come pick these people up and bring them somewhere else. The same people that were yelling and calling people like Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis fascists for shipping these people up there. Oh, they're just playing political games here, playing with people's lives. It's disgusting. Yeah. What's disgusting is you people saying you're a sanctuary city, and then when you get a bunch of migrants dropped onto your doorstep, you smile for the cameras and then immediately boot them out of your community. Right? These people, oh, I thought you were the give somebody the shirt off your back type of person. How come you didn't allow them to stay in your house? Oh, that's a little bit too far, isn't it? Yeah. We see the hypocrisy there. It's blatant, and you people can't hide it forever. We see it, but, it's a big issue. It really is. And it's only because it's a self-inflicted issue. Joe Biden has brought this problem upon ourselves. He could have kept Trump's border policies in place, and we would still have a pretty good southern border, right? People still get across because that's going to happen, of course. But I'm rambling on at this point, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.